All right, YouTube, right back at you with another video. Right here, I got my XTE Blackout Pro. Of course, this is from Red Cat Racing. And what I want to speak with you guys about today is suspension. More so with the how to set up your suspension for different types of drive mode. And when I say drive mode, what I'm talking about is, let's just say, for instance, if you're a basher and you like to do jumps, you like to, just rough around a little bit with the car, your suspension would be set up, or should be set up, a bit differently if you were, let's just say, for instance, if you were someone who was just doing speed runs. Speed run suspension and bashing suspensions should be totally different. The same as on-road and off-road suspension should be different as well. And track conditions as well. It should be different from, let's just say, for instance, everyday running. If you do off-roading and you just do, little standard things on the off-road, climb a few hills, just going over rough terrain, maneuverability and overall performance of the vehicle is very, 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 very reliant upon how you have your suspension set up. So with that being said, let's jump right into it. However, for the sake of the video, I'm just going to continue with the rear of the truck to kind of like give an explanation of what I was talking about as far as shock placement when it comes to suspension. So basically, what you're looking at is the movement of the shock itself, of the wheel. I want to say of the wheel itself. Like if you were on a course and you wanted to run a track, that means that you're going to be doing a lot of turns. You're going to be doing a lot of acceleration, braking, things of that nature. And if you were to look at the placement of this shock right now, it's at its furthest most corner placement right here, meaning that you have, look at the position of the shock right here. That means the travel of this shock would pretty much go like this. That's the direction in which the wheel itself is going to travel, in that direction that is angled at. Meaning that when you are traveling at high speeds around corners and curves, that means that you have pretty good support, because the weight of the car is going to want to shift in the way that you're turning. And when you have it where the resistance of it is perfect enough to catch the weight of the car as it leans in the curve, this is pretty much the setup that you want if you're going to be running tracks or courses. So this is pretty much the setup that you want right here, because it's angled to catch the car as the weight leans toward that way, meaning that the car is not as prone to flip when going in tight corners as it would be if the shock wasn't mounted on this corner as far as it can go. And out here, if you look up under here, you have other options. You have, I guess you can't see it from there, so I can turn this around and hopefully you guys can see exactly what I'm saying. Right here, you have two more holes back here. And right now, this shock is being mounted in this hole right here, furthest or closest to the wheel, is actually where this shock is being mounted at. So what you want to do is, if you are trying to, let me get this thing to focus. So if you're in a situation where you're trying to do corners very well and you want some stability and your car is flipping when you're trying to do tight turns and stuff, this is exactly what you want to focus on. This right here, you want to take that available hole right there closest to the wheel, and that would give you a lot more stability in corners and your car won't be as prone to flip. Now, if you look up top here again, if you was to focus up top, let's turn it around again, you will see that right now it's in its outermost position here up top. But if you notice right here, there's actually another hole that you can mount this thing at, meaning that the angle would be even more exaggerated and you would have even more chances of not flipping if you go in the corner, because it'll have even more support with the travel of the shock. The only downside to that, the only downside to it is that you also would lower the height of the car. By lowering the height of the car, that can be good or bad depending on exactly what it is that you're doing. But most tracks, most courses that I've seen also have hills where you jump. You also have places where you jump. And the reason why you don't want the car too low to the ground on a course or a track is because during the jumps, during your landings, if you don't have some pretty tight springs on there, even if you have the tightest springs, with all the weight of some of these batteries, and especially with this being the rear and the motors back here, all this weight back here, you're prone to slam and hit the ground and probably end up breaking something underneath or damaging your car in some kind of way if this thing is stressed out too much. Because you got to look at if you're going to take the shock and put it on its furthermost point here and its most innermost point there, this shock needs to be a little bit longer. So, you may have to end up purchasing some different kind of shocks as well, some that's a little bit longer and got a little bit more travel length, because the further that the more that you exaggerate how much this thing is to compensate for tight turns and things of that nature, you're going to have to sacrifice some shocks. So you're going to probably have to get rid of these and either get rid of these and get some more, or find you different places to mount your shocks. And in this case, Red Cat provided us with 3 different locations. As you can see, you have the innermost here, you have a middle there, and I got it mounted on the outer edge right here. So that's just a little something for you guys to focus on as far as suspension. And for right now, that's pretty much that in a nutshell. But like I was telling you guys earlier about that shock, even with the setup that I have, you still see that it's pretty low. I may have right now, I don't know, 3/4 of an inch of clearance right there with this thing fully compressed. And to be honest with you, if I was to adjust the shocks a little bit more, it'll actually be less than 3/4, maybe 1/4 of an inch. And you got to look at when you're out there on rough terrain and things of that nature, a rock can easily hit that and scrub that and cause some damage as well. So that's what I was talking about when I was talking about travel height and length and things of that nature when we're talking about positioning these shocks. But this is my sweet spot. I'm not, trying to convince anyone else that my setup is the best setup. This is the setup that works for me. You find a setup that works for you. That's the whole purpose of this thing. Anyway, I'm gonna have to cut this one here short. Hopefully this helps someone out there. If you liked the video, give it a thumbs up, considering subscribing as well. If you did not like the video and you feel like I left something out, leave a comment in the section below, and maybe a tip or two. We're all learning this thing. We all been bit by the RC bug. So keep RCing, man, and keep the love alive. Till next time, it's D, and I'm out.